Well, hello again. Welcome to the penultimate program, we can say at this point, in our series called Mass and Melody, which was brought to you for Carnival 2026. It's true, Carnival is over, but we'd always said to you that part of what we're doing would be to do a sort of review of Carnival after the fact. So Carnival has come and gone, but my team is back, and it consists of Dr. I.P. Pascal and Clement Barber Richards. Ashton Wackers-Luke is unable to be with us this time around, but he'll be back. He has indicated that he'll be back for the other program. And also Peter Letang is of the Dominica Calypso Association will also be joining us. I get the sense that he's trying to join us, and so we'll have him on a little later on. So what we want to do in this edition of the program is to do an assessment, an overview, if you will, review, if you will, of Carnival, but in a very general sense, because we want in the next program to focus more specifically on Calypso and all of the things that happen with regard to Calypso. So let me welcome, the team for this program, Dr. I.P. Pascal and Clement Barber Richards. Let us begin, gentlemen, by I'm gonna pose a question to you, and that is on a scale of 1 to 10, right? How would either of you, I use that scale, what if you want to use a different scale, then no problem. How would either of you rate Carnival 2026?
We're watching the whole carnival. First of all, not just what the days of the jump up or the shows and whatever. So as a totality, I think I would give Carnival a 8. It was a good event. There was a lot of participation. There were problems, so it couldn't be a 10. Probably if I mark like a hard, I'll give it a 7, but I'll still leave it at a 8. But so generally, I think we had a successful carnival. If that is the question, that is what that and that's what this question means to me. And but there is room for improvement.
Okay, so that's the essence of what we're doing here today, to look at what happened and see, what can be improved, But Dr. IP, what's your take?
Yeah, in general, I would go along with Baba. In general, I think it was overall, one would have to say, at least for me, subjectively, it was overall a good carnival. I would classify it as a good carnival season overall, including even the jump up days and everything. Overall, yes, I would say it would have to be some above 7.5, 8 out of 10.
Okay, so all right, so that tells me too that
Yeah,
since both of
there is
you,
something that is important that probably not covered in that matrix because while let's say the overall carnival was around an 8, the visitor participation was more like a
well, yeah,
9.5.
we're coming to that. We're coming to that,
Okay,
We're going to
okay,
take, the carnival, we're going to do a breakdown,
no
of
problem.
stage by stage. But I was saying that, what this suggests to me, I am hoping I'm right. You tell me if not, that both of you had a good carnival, right? Am I right?
Well, yes, that's why that's why I said subjectively because I it for me, I remember I called one of my friends and said for me that was for me one of the most enjoyable carnivals I had. The last carnival I had like that I was Reunion 1988.
Okay.
Yeah, and it was simply because I think because I was just there was it was no it was really free. My carnival this year was free. I didn't do anything. There were very little have tos. Whatever I got to do, I just did it. Almost like way back in the day, you didn't know if you were going to go to any show. You just whatever you got to do, you enjoyed it. And actually, I didn't even jump in the band as much I have in the past as I had in the past. But what little um, jumping I actually did, it was really enjoyable. And I think it's primarily because I wasn't in any organized, it wasn't an organized carnival for me.
Yeah.
It was really the essence of being free up to just the Thunderbirds that I usually jump in on Carnival Corner, they weren't there. So there was no organized sensei traditional band. And because of that, I just took my sensei and went on the road and jumped up, and nobody knew who it was. And and even the shows and everything else, it was, and I spent some time making costumes and stuff like that, and that was really enjoyable. So for me personally, and the other thing about it was the energy of the people on the road. Maybe because it was so many visitors, but you just felt a different energy standing there looking at the bands passing, standing there seeing the people enjoying themselves. And maybe it's the rhythm, maybe it's the bouyon music, but it definitely was for me. I enjoyed it, I must say.
Yeah, well, it seems to me, Dr. IP, from what you're saying, you went back a bit to the time when we used to promote Carnival as the most spontaneous carnival in in
That
in,
happened.
That's what I was
in
thinking.
the world,
Yes,
right?
yes. For me,
Yes,
it was
yes.
really spontaneous, and for me, it was
All right,
really spontaneous. It didn't. It wasn't as organized as it usually is for me personally. So
right.
saying that I have to go to Juve, I have to get to Juve. I didn't. I started. I went to Saint Joseph first, and then I got into Rosa a little late, so I missed. But this, I think, the spontaneity of it this year for me, I think, was very enjoyable. And besides that, I think the participation of the it was apparent that all the people who were out there jumping up were actually really enjoying themselves. So
Okay.
so
So Baba, how about you? I mean, Dr.
Well,
Pascal here is talking about his own participation and what it meant to him. I'm pretty sure he'll be able to talk about the other aspects as well, because he would have some sense as to what happened otherwise. But what about you? I mean, from where is your assessment
I had
coming?
a cool carnival. I've been having a cool carnival for a little while. I don't know, team, if you know that, but in solo song "Mass in the Cemetery," you have a line saying Clement Richards on the side drum playing tempo. So my father is in um, solo song
immortalized,
as one of the
immortalized.
icons of Carnival. And I mean, I grew up with Carnival for the longest while and stuff. So now I kind of take a back seat and I more record and observe, participate to a certain extent. But then what I found, well, it's kind of interesting that IP raised this thing because like the part I really enjoyed the most was the part on the road where I had my camera and then I decided, well, okay, yeah, camera is one thing, but I'm a carnival man, and I start to jump on the road as well. And the one thing though I was kind of disappointed on in is that there were not many people as I know and who participate in carnival. I mean, there had a lot of people watching, and I think the importance of Dominica Carnival is the participation, is the actual jump up, is being on the road, is catching the fire, and that is one of the things we'll talk about later. But definitely, I enjoyed it, but from a more passive perspective than Dr. IP. Okay, let's put it this way. In the past, I used to lead IP, so now IP can take over. No problem.
Okay,
All
all
right,
right.
bye, bro.
All right. I tend to agree with you guys as well that that I think it was a successful carnival, and I think there were a number of elements which contributed to that, and we'll talk about it. But let us look at some of the specific things that we need to talk about. We'll come to the spontaneous part of it, and that is the jump up and so on, where people just go out and do their own thing, like Dr. Pascal. But what about the organized part of it? Let's talk about the shows. Let's talk about those things that you saw. I mean, there's the usual pageant. There was the opening. There were some of the other events that were held as part of the program. So let us look at. Let's begin. Let's start at the beginning. For example, I mean I don't know which one of you actually saw the opening and
I
you're
didn't.
able. You didn't see the opening.
No.
Okay. All right.
Neither
Did you
did
see the opening, Dr. Pascal?
no, I didn't see the opening.
What I saw of the opening was kind of limited in the sense that I was not out on the street. I was working, so I could only see what was coming back to me based on what was happening at the time. So I didn't have an overview of what happened during the opening. But I think what I can speak to is the fact that with the opening of Carnival, what you're finding now is the activity is spreading beyond Roseau so that well, not every village, but several villages now have their own openings, right? And so, I mean, I happened to glimpse some of it from St. Joseph, from Grand Bay, and what I was able to notice is that in terms of participation, people came out, and as Dr. Ivy said, in the spontaneous part of it, people showed up to jump up. As to whether the part of Carnival that provides for a display of our traditional mass and costumes and that kind of thing, I from what I saw, it didn't come across to me as if that aspect of it is growing. I mean, people are showing up, they're turning out to take part in the events, but they're doing so more in terms of participating in the jump up, the street aspect of it. As to whether the costume, the organized part of it, where people take the opportunity to display the traditional mask and get involved in costume bands and so on. From what I saw, I was not convinced that that aspect of it was growing.
And also another aspect, Tim, which I think is going by the wayside, is like the opening for areas where the carnival queens originate would serve as a means of generating interest in their crowd to come and support them in the big show. And I think that has died out. That we don't have that kind of focus. The other thing is the opening. The opening is the same all over, from Roseau to Portsmouth to Granby to St. Joseph. Basically, some participants on the road, a big band, go into an area and have a jump up before Carnival, basically.
Right.
As opposed to having a focus, say for instance, if we go to St. Joe, St. Joe is an area for sensei, and you would probably want to make sure you have a lot of sensei. And if you want to go to, and the type of sensei as well. And if you go to Granby, you would more get the bag sensei. And if you go to Portsmouth, you would get something else. And if you go to Carnival area, you would have the Carnival, the hat kind of mask, the thing. So we kind of lose that distinction, which would be really displayed at the opening. And that is something that I think that should be given some attention.
Yeah, and I'd like you to comment on this, because I know that's one of the areas that you're passionate about, or at least you care about with regard to general carnival activities. Yeah, I mean, it's true we're having the openings, several of them in various villages, but the question is it serving a purpose in terms of, expanding or solidifying on those aspects of carnival that are traditional, that make carnival truly, ours are different, say in Dominica compared to other places.
Yeah, I think so because I didn't go to any of the openings, but I went to, and although I got there a little bit late, to the Old Mass Festival in St. Joseph, and I was supposed to start at 4 o'clock in the morning, and then a Saturday morning, and ended really and truly surprisingly at 6 o'clock. And so the participation to me wasn't that great. There weren't very many traditional costumes or old mask costumes there. So, but what it highlights? It's part of maybe the future of that needs to be addressed for a sustainable future of the carnival, because as the visitors become, if that trend continues of the visitors and they take over the streets of Roseau, it's going to be important, especially from the traditional mass perspective, because there weren't any traditional mass bands in Roseau this year per se. Well, there was a grouping on Tuesday of sensei costumes, but beside that, nothing. And so that might be something that would have to be looked at, both in terms of preserving those traditional costumes and widening the appeal of the carnival so that you could come into Dominica for Carnival as a visitor and then be in your band in Roseau, but you would know that you could take 2 or 3 hours out and go to Grand Bay, come to St. Joseph, because there they having something specific like the sensei or the what's it having Coliho or the
Van Move.
band
Van
moving
Move.
Coliho. So I think it's something that's going to have to be developed, but the dependence on the original creators is what is the issue, because those people are passed on, they are older, the younger people haven't acquired those skills and crafts for those traditional costumes. So it's going to have to be the official, maybe between DDA and the Festivals Commission and Ministry of Culture. Maybe we're going to have to reconsider how spontaneously they allow that to be and be more active in making sure it happens. Because I imagine the majority of people who would make sure it happens are either no longer interested, or they are, retired from that activity right now. So it is something that I think will definitely have to be addressed to be able to keep the real mass as interested and excited as it can be.
Okay, let me welcome Peter Letin of the Dominica Calypso Association to the panel. It's good to have you, Peter. Thanks for joining us.
Yes, good night. How are you doing?
Pretty good. Pretty good, thank you. You're looking well rested, man, Huh?
Well, I'm half and half on vacation. I'm not vacation, but I'm doing a workshop in Barbados right now.
Oh, that's where you are, in BIM
So
country.
I live in the hotel life, man.
All right, man.
But
Well,
Tim,
well, that's good. It's a welcome break from the hectic, time that you had, a hectic season that you always have at Carnival time, right?
Yes, I will have to fly out immediately after Carnival.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay. So, boy, okay. Well, we're glad we have you then, because
but
we
Tim,
can.
but Tim,
Yes,
if I may, when
yes.
you're referring to him in that context about Calypso, is it Calypso name you have to use, mighty
Pigtail.
picture, rhyme, and then like, not picture later that there is like,
Joke.
Calypso, you know what I'm
I,
saying?
it's one thing you're not going to get any pushback from me on that, eh? But I'm extremely willing, because I like the name Mighty Pigtail, man.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, that's the Calypso name.
Okay, but
Three
Peter,
straight monarchs, man.
what we're doing is we're sort of doing an overview, of the carnival, right? An assessment in overview terms, of the carnival. I mean, we're going to come to you in a short while to give us your take on Calypso. But since you've joined us, I started this program by asking the guys, to rate Carnival, right, for me or for the program on a scale of 1 to 10, and they've told me how they feel. Before I tell you what they said, let me hear what you think.
Well, Tim, boy, I must say this Carnival was a carnival. I would say with a difference, but what I can see, I saw a lot of foreign faces.
Okay,
Not only Dominicans living abroad,
right,
but
I, I, and I want
foreigners.
and I want you to talk about that in more detail. But tell me what a mark would you give Carnival on on a scale of 1 to 10? How would you grade it?
9.
Okay, all right. So you can continue now.
Yes, yes.
Right.
Well, I work at customs, so I knew what the flow of traffic was in the airport and on the ferry. It was madness. The ferry, on a given day, like I think 900 people came in given day in the airport, like 700 and something. So the influx of foreigners into I mean, I'm not saying everybody was non-Dominican, but the guys at the airport actually told me that a lot of people were non-Dominicans, and they just heard about Dominican's Carnival, and they just came down to enjoy. They joined the band, and they just here to enjoy Carnival. So I think that was a good sign for Dominica's Carnival, eh?
Right. So for you, that was the most significant thing, that would speak to the success of Carnival. Anything else that
Well,
stood
I
out?
mean, that contributed to the numbers on the road.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I went down to town Carnival Monday and Tuesday, and the amount of people I saw on both days was unbelievable.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the participation was great.
Mm-hmm.
You
You
know,
know,
I mean,
actually,
maybe I would have loved to hear a little more calypso,
right.
but
Okay. Well, we'll get to that. We'll definitely get to that. When you come on to give us your review. But the Ministry of Tourism has actually put out some information indicating that about 9,300 people, visitors, came to the island for
oh,
Carnival,
okay,
and
okay.
that's an increase certainly over last year, and they attributed that to the fact that there's more access, greater access. That's what the ministry says, greater access to Dominica now, air access, right? And of course, the
Yes, yes.
ferries are always then. We always know at Carnival Time and Creole Festival, the ferries are just packed, and the ferry business really just skyrockets. But essentially, yeah, they're saying almost 10,000 people came to the country for Carnival. So
But
that
Tim,
speaks to what you're saying, Peter, about
Yes,
the
yes.
you know the number of people you saw around the place. Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yes, Baba, I saw your hand go up.
in terms of you said around 9,000 came this year, right?
Yes.
You have any idea what last year's visitor arrival figures were like?
I think they said it's about 14 or 13% more
3%
than
more this year.
last year. Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
so all right,
yeah.
That's
okay,
a
I
so
mean,
significant
you
difference.
so do the math. Yeah.
it will be like 7,000 last year, and this year
Well,
was around
is that about
9,000.
13 to 14% more? Yeah,
All right, okay,
yeah. Okay.
then all right, okay, cool.
Yeah, yeah. So Peter, yeah, you finished in terms of the reasons for your assessment. That's based primarily on the number of people you saw here. What else
Well,
can you speak to? Mm.
and I think I was very satisfied with the number of live bands I saw on the road. I mean, there was the Triple K, the Signal Band. Then I think Ridge was on. There's an Miss Little Man, Swinging Stars. Well, I understand Serenade was in Portsmouth and in Maho. I mean, I think majority of the bands were actually playing on the road,
Mhm.
island-wide, you know?
Okay.
I think that's a
Uh,
good sign.
yeah. That's certainly good. I mean, we will get to the point where we know, juxtapose that against the amount of calypsos, that calypso that was played, and you see if whether the number of live bands on the road was, reflected, or there was a proper or encouraging reflection of the amount of calypsos played compared to the amount of live music that was on the road. But
Yes.
we'll get to that.
Well,
Uh, yes.
I have a funny stat. When we get to that, I'll bring out the stat.
Okay.
So
All right. Okay. Interesting. I just wanted to ensure that we exhausted, because since Peter is here, guys, we're going to take him on the Calypso thing. So, we can let him up. So maybe he has some, date tonight in
Yeah,
Barbados or
yeah,
something like
yeah,
that.
yeah.
No.
We have some hotel thing to do with,
For
but that's all
no,
right.
but for a while there, right? I was going to say, boy, well, why did you say that? But then I realized, yeah, that's okay. You can say that to Peter now. You know what I mean? I don't think he expects to land in any trouble, if we were to disclose any, such activities on his part. But yeah, but I wanted us to determine whether we had exhausted that point on the traditional aspect of Carnival. I mean, IP said he had a great time. The spontaneity was there, but one of the areas lacking was insufficient, inclusion and display of a traditional mass. Whether, we have exhausted that, whether there's something that we want to recommend, going forward, that we can ensure that there's a stronger element of a traditional mass in our carnival.
Well, Tim, what I think, first of all, is from time to time, you have to assess where you are and where you're going. And where we are is basically in a transition period with our carnival. As you said, like basically you have a lot more visitors coming in. And one of the things though that kind of is happening at the same time is you seem to have less Dominicans participating in the carnival. So you have a lot of visitors coming in and Dominicans now watching visitors play mass as opposed to what it used to be before. Visitors would come to watch Dominicans play mass. And I think that's important and to plan for the future to decide how these things have to be dealt with. And remember, you said earlier the real mass. I haven't heard that said as the brand for a little while. I don't know if we still keep to the real mass, but I think that is one of the things that define Dominica's carnival. That our carnival is different from the others, and we should be able to highlight the difference and promote the difference. In fact, to help develop the difference, we cannot just let that be spontaneous. I think IP mentioned that earlier, that's something that we should actually be actively working towards developing our real mass, to make our real mass realer, if we can say that. You know what I'm saying?
Right, right. Okay. Ivy, anything, I know that that's a pet area of yours, anything to add in terms of how we can approach this whole notion of making a real mass more real, making it more, spontaneous, including more inclusive of the traditional aspects of Carnival that has been a highlight of our Carnival, for many years.
I think we don't have a choice, and it's a challenge that those who are managing the carnival, the festival itself, going to have to face up to, because again, you don't want, you wouldn't really, it will really be a great loss for the as Peter was saying, the volumes of people to be predominantly visitors, because the product is such that it's only about being able to afford to go in a really organized band that's expensive, that somebody who's living overseas or a visitor can get into, and even our young people who might be into that trend will be unable to access because of the price of these costumes and things like that.
Right.
And then and also for the traditional costumes, you also want the young people who are the major demographic on the streets at Carnival now. You want them to participate in that. So something is going to have to be done actively. Not, I mean, we're going to have to put the spontaneous mass in brackets to ensure that something is done to maintain that, because it will be important to have the balance between both aspects going forward. That is what will continue to attract the visitors. Mm-hmm. Because, and why I say that, it was interesting, the number of people, even locals, who took the opportunity, who were in the feathers and that on the bands, in those big bands, who were quite taken when they saw a traditional costume like a sensei, and would run to take a picture with those of us who were in sensei costumes. And that told me something, that it was still even if they weren't in a sensei costume or traditional costume, seeing it and getting a picture, and it was still something very unique and interesting to them, to the visitors. Mm-hmm. So I think it's something that's going to have to be actively looked at, how you balance and how you maintain the tradition. Because if we don't do that, what I think will happen is that we will be just like any other carnival. Mm-hmm. And then it will, this swing that we have now will then start to go the other way.
Okay. The suggestion is that bouillon music is to a certain extent responsible for the influx of a number of overseas people who have been exposed to the music and are coming here to enjoy it on the streets. And this in itself is not bad. It's a good thing. But I mean, the question is, do we want to lose everything else, and sort of promote, or let's go with the flow, with the bouillon, the bouillon influence, so to speak, and in the process ignore and neglect everything else? I mean, is that a good strategy, guys?
No. We don't have that. That would be tragic. And so I think it's about incorporating all the aspects of the carnival, especially making sure that the young people. So it would mean that things like even the bouillon bands, the big bouillon bands, somehow we're going to have to find a way to incorporate the traditional costumes in those bands on the road. Whether somehow we're going to have to incorporate that. And the simplest way to do that would be to have traditional costumes that are not so expensive, make it accessible for you to be in a bouillon band, but in those big bouillon bands with a traditional costumes and things like that, because at the end of the day, the younger people, to me, that's regardless of what they have on, they would like the rhythm, their preferred rhythm to jump in is the bouillon. Mm-hmm. So I think it's going to have to really do some brainstorming to sit and how, rather than let it happen as it used to happen before, spontaneously, we just hope some people will get together and form a traditional band. No, I think it's going to have to be pursued actively.
Yes.
Maybe funny you said somebody would have to come around to do that, because when you really look at the costume bands now, I mean, DDA or DFC, nobody is involved. It's all private.
Yes, that's my point.
So now but then no, they left the Juve open for traditional.
Yeah.
Because there's a time limit. Well, when the bouillon bands or the electronic bands can come out. So I think maybe somebody in the private sector might have to come up with some idea to see what they can do to bring back that traditional mass.
Yes, because you see, it's a good thing you said that, because you see, it might mean now, which might be in the best interest of maintaining the traditional mass. It might mean focusing like the Juve to be primarily about traditional mass, putting more effort into making sure that you get senseis and tradition in the Juve and maybe other little niche areas to maintain it. So where a visitor now has choice, they know they're going to see traditional mass in Juve for sure, and then they get into their, anyway.
But even for the Juve in town, we have numbers, walking around.
Yes.
And participating.
Yeah.
So I mean, the traditional thing is not all, it's not done. People still looking out for it.
Mm-hmm.
I guess it's just for somebody to come organize, put something in place. Right. And I think it will work out.
Right.
Oh, okay. The thing about it though, where the carnival has developed, it's spontaneous. Nobody had really planned it to be to have like 9,000 visitors this year. It happened. We should be planning then that next year there would be at least a 10% increase. So we'd have around 10,000 people. But then what do we do with that? Obviously, if we just leave it, it would continue, and basically the traditional mass will be marginalized. So there should be some active programs now, basically with the cultural division and with the DDA, to try to develop outside of the carnival the kind of resources that will appear on Carnival Day. So for instance, there should be a plan to say in Carnival 2027, we want at least 50 sensei on the road. We want at least 3 Lapu Cabrit bands on the road. We want around a group with some big belly, big bottom women and so. So that, how do you get that? Mm-hmm. You actually work through the years, through the months, and develop some interest in that. Now, the other thing is you have to give people some incentive. So you have to work with groups and try to get them, because essentially what IP raises an important point. The keepers of the flame are passing. People of our generation, basically, we can do a little thing, but we're not the real carnival. You know, we can be the organizers, we can be the thinkers, but it's the youth. It's like my son and my grandson and people of that ilk that will carry the carnival. We have to get them interested and get them participating before carnival. Because when carnival comes, the booyah music starts and they're gone. Yeah. So that there needs to be an active program of what I'd call pre-carnival development. And I don't know how that will work, but that has to happen. Because if we just leave it as it is, we will not see the increase. We won't even have the maintenance of what we have now. It will just really filter away as time passes.
Okay. So I'm going to use this to sort of move into Peter's area of Calypso, so he can give us that overview. But I want to lead into it this way, Peter. How do you see Calypso now fitting into this new, well, not new, but this suggestion, right? Both from IP and from Baba that, look, we need to focus on traditional aspects of Carnival. Some people would say that Calypso is a traditional part of our Carnival celebrations, right? So how do you see Calypso fitting into that?
Well, Tim, I mean, Calypso went through a hard last 3-4 years, or is going through a hard time. But what I can say is the present executive, we tried new things, and some people told me that for some reason they feel in some kind of vibe with the Calypso. And I think we as the executive and the Calypso Association, we are very optimistic that if we continue on that trend, that we can see the upswing for Calypso again. I mean, okay, last year, Trendsetter got the road match for Calypso, and I think he got the road match with like 35, 36 plays. Daddy Chess got the road match, and he had 101 plays. So National was in second place with 51 plays. So I'm not sure how this judging was done, you know what I'm saying? But I think it is encouraging that the winner this year was played 3 times as much as the winner last year on the road for the Carnival Monday and Tuesday. So let's see what's up.
Yeah.
I think the attendance at all shows from the quarters, semis, where even eliminations and the finals were up from last year. I haven't got the exact figures for the finals yet, but I know the eliminations, quarters, semis were up from last year.
Okay, I have to say that, I mean, I was at the finals and the crowd was a good one,
The crowd was a good crowd.
It was a good one,
And
yes.
no,
Yes.
but and what too I enjoyed, I found the participation was very good.
All right.
Even at the King of Stardom tent, the atmosphere, I think, brought me back to the Cicero days. So
Right.
that was encouraging.
Yeah, but generally, I got the sense too, though, Peter, that participation, attendance at the tents was not that good this year.
No, the tents were not that good. No.
Right. Okay. So it seems to me that while during the season, a lot of patrons didn't turn out for the shows, but for the finals, the turnout was good. Could that be attributed to the visitors as well?
I think they probably had some input there as well. Yeah,
it could be, but what I would say, wow, the tents were challenged by the outside factors, like the opening of Carnival, then some of the Wednesdays, on the Saturday was the quarters, the Saturday was the semis. So I found it was very challenging. Although last year, although years gone by, it was the same, I guess. Well, it did have the opening of Carnival, but the tents maybe before the quarters and the semis, the finals worked. But this year, for some reason, it was a struggle. I'm not sure if it's a financial thing. I don't know what it is, but it was a real struggle.
Okay. We plan to explore some of these areas in a lot more detail, in the next program because we realize that we've not been able to cover everything, in this program. So maybe, one of you guys from the Calypso Association might join us in the next program, to explore this
Yes.
some more, because it's something that Dr. IP is very passionate about. In fact, some time ago, I told you about the idea that he came up with, which I threw out to you, and generally felt it wasn't a bad idea. But we will get to that. But I just wanted to say this with regard to the number of plays that the Calypsos got on the road this year. I remember remarking, I was in Roseau, doing some live streaming, and I remember remarking to somebody who was there that, I'm hearing the Calypsos being played more this year than I have had for a little while.
Okay. All
Yes,
right.
I remember
Okay.
saying that, but I said, but they're playing a lot of Calypsos this year, man, on the road, right?
Yeah.
And so maybe that could, that speaks to the number of times that Daddy Chess was played. I did remember saying to somebody that Daddy Chess is in strong contention, for the title, after
Yeah.
having heard, his songs several times. So, but then I also want to go back to this whole traditional mass infusion, so to speak, and the need for us to concentrate on making the traditional mass, an important or keeping it as an important aspect of our carnival and working on that to develop it further. IP had an idea some time ago. In fact, he called me some time ago and I called you immediately afterwards to suggest that maybe you should consider putting a truck on the road during Juve. Now, let me let IP talk a little more about that because the idea came, from him.
Well,
Okay.
yeah, no, my feeling was that is an acceptance that the the prominence of the calypso music during the carnival was, a little bit on the wane, as is expected, like everything else. I mean, the young people are playing the bouillon, but for those of us who still love our calypso, and so how do I was thinking more about what can be done to sustain the art form and keep the art form present at least, and maybe even incorporate the youth a bit more. And the what I had noticed was that the there there was a sort of vacuum in the Juve over the years, because there's no more steel band. The number of Lapo at least in Roseau and everywhere else, was decreasing, and but yet there wasn't any increased hi-fi bands in Juve. Over the years, there had been increased hi-fi bands on the road that replaced the steel band and replaced the Lapo. But in Juve, you would hardly get any hi-fi bands, and it was only and then more recently you were getting the bouillon bands coming in around 7 o'clock. And
Yes.
so I felt that that was a space that could now be predominantly be occupied by the calypso, especially those calypsos of the current year, of the year being, and even those before, and that would also allow for 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 the continuation and the interest of the calypso in the mass, because for sure there is a space for more music to jump to in Juve.
Yeah, but remember, the electronic bands
That's
or
what I was thinking
systems
of.
cannot come for Juve.
No,
As it was.
but when you say, well, that's what I'm saying. That is something then that's going to have to be looked at, because you
Is
do
that
have
what you're saying? Yes.
yes, you
Okay.
do have electronic bands at Juve, but they start at 7. But I'm
Yeah,
saying the
at 7.
calypso, but calypso
Could
as
maybe
an
ask.
art form, as part of the traditional thing,
Oh, I
could be
get you.
given could be given that exception,
Oh,
That,
okay, I get you.
that
But
a band, especially if you play in the calypsos of the year, of
yes,
those that
yes.
were competing for the year. That's one
Okay,
thing I
but
tell.
one thing the executive and the Calypso Association did this year, like in the past, apparently, anytime a Calypsonian would sing a song, he'd be disqualified from getting the
Yeah.
road match. He'd be disqualified from the
Okay.
road match because they figure a Calypsonian would come and try to push himself.
Yes.
So we removed that this year. That's why Daddy Chess was able to sing his song. And I don't know if you all noticed that Calfa P was on the truck, you know. But even with that removal, I still found Calypsonians were not interested in coming to push themselves. I mean, Swinging Stars was on the road. I mean,
Yes.
any suitable song for the road, if the Calypsonian had come,
You'd
Swinging
play.
Stars would play it, you
Yes.
know. I mean, I wouldn't expect a Calypsonian to come and try to take the mic for himself, you know what I'm saying? But we would play it. And to me, the Calypsonians did not capitalize on it.
Mhm.
You know, I mean, there are songs I figured that could suit the road. I never saw the Calypsonian. Now, in that case, back in time, we would ask Chester or Tasha to maybe go out and learn a Calypso or two from their competitors. Because that was banned, we figure Calypsonians would show up, so we didn't ask them to go to learn any songs. So that's why I figure some of these songs were limited. The number of songs we heard was a little limited. But I would really want to urge the Calypsonians, man. I mean, we put something in place for them to be able to push themselves. They should try to take advantage of it.
Yeah.
You know?
Okay,
Were they aware of that,
but
though, Peter? Were they aware of that beforehand?
I'm sure. I'm sure about that.
Okay.
I'm sure.
uh,
But
but,
but
but
but but could it does it but on another note, does it have to be live then? What about what do you call it? Playback? What about
No,
their
it doesn't have to
recording?
be live.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure the 101 plays and the 50 plays National God, all that was
Would
in bars, you know,
oh, okay. Yeah.
hi-fi's, bars. Once it's played on the road or on the
Yeah.
carnival route, it's
Yeah.
considered a play, you
mm,
know.
Okay.
right. But Peter, while I like the idea of doing something to facilitate more airplay of the calypsos, on the road, I need to ask, I mean, isn't this idea of letting the Calypsonians sing their songs without some sort of structure, you know? In other words, like it's a free fall. Like if you want to sing your song, go out there and sing your song as many times as you can. Take, for example, Daddy Chess plays with Swinging Stars. So he, by, virtue of the fact that Swinging Stars is always out on Carnival, either Monday or Tuesday, that he will have the opportunity to sing his song several times. I'm not against the idea, but I'm just saying, can you really implement it objectively, without any bias, obvious bias?
Um,
Hmm.
well, swing is, what I would say, we never deprived Calfa P from singing the song. Know what I'm saying? I mean, on the next hand, a Caribbean too supposed to know whether or not his song makes sense on the road, eh? I mean, if he comes on the truck, he can clearly see that's not the song the fans want. He should be reasonable and say, okay, I'll sing once, twice, and I'll get out, and not try to abuse a situation.
Yeah.
But I think Swinging Stars is a band that is very fair, and I don't think we will do anything to give Daddy Chess an unfair advantage. No, no. I mean, yes, he's part of the band. Daddy Chess has disqualified himself year after year after year. He and Tasha, they have disqualified themselves willingly just to be able to sing their song on the road. I can remember when Daddy Chess got the road match with Forward We Go. He Philip was for that to be singing his song for him. And he had to sit there listening to Philip sing his song. And after he got the road match, he came and he told the band, that can never happen to him again. If he has to be disqualified, he has to be disqualified, but he'll be singing his song, you know? So Swing Stars has been on the road. Many other people have gotten road match, and Daddy Chess, Tasha P, they have always been there.
Mhm.
You know, I mean,
Right. So
I
so
think
now
we are a reasonable band. I mean, if
right.
a song is more suited on the road than the Tasha P or Daddy Chess, Swing Stars would have no problem playing that song to have the fans happy.
Mm.
I
Okay.
mean,
I mean,
But
but it still remains that the criterion for determining the title, and mind you, I'm not saying this because I feel that HS is getting an unfair advantage. I just feel that the system, the
yeah,
system for doing it, lends itself, to that. In other words, so for a Calypsonian to be in contention for the road
mhm.
match title now, he has to come out there and do the work himself.
Yeah,
You,
yeah.
you,
Well, he
you
has to help
understand? Yeah,
himself. He has to help
yeah,
himself.
yeah. All right.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just threw it out because I'm pretty sure, that has probably come up already or will come up.
but
Surely the
we
rule was
have
placed
to.
for Daddy Chess too, eh?
The what?
I think that rule about disqualifying for singing was actually placed
Oh,
for
okay.
him back in
All
the
right.
day. You
Okay.
know,
All right.
But
I
Tim,
mean, it was
Yeah,
never
yeah,
set like that, but I
uh, yeah,
but
yes,
Tim,
Baba.
can other bands also be involved in this? Is it only Swinging Stars that has to be on the road to have the road
No,
match?
no, no,
no.
absolutely not. Yeah, no. Right,
Okay, so
right.
probably the point should be there should be more bands possibly hosting calypsonians on the road.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
that
yeah, and
they're
that's it.
doing a
No,
very
that's
good
a
job.
yeah, that's a
But
main issue there.
yeah,
Right?
yeah,
How do you
yeah.
get more? Because swinging stars is a staple.
Mhm.
They're always there every year. How do you get more bands that will be inclined to play calypso to come out, or more bands to play calypso on the road and give the opportunity to those calypsonians who want to sing their songs to do so? I think that is one of the things that probably needs to be explored, to be looked at.
No,
Okay.
one of the things I'm thinking in terms of moving forward, um, basically we have to try to incorporate, well, we have to try to work with Bouillon as
Okay.
Carnival.
Before we wait, and it has to do with calypso, right?
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay. All right. Go ahead.
We,
Yes.
we
All
need
right.
to work with Bouillon as Carnival going forward. And one of the ways that can happen, I think, is Bouillon bands can agree to play at least 1 hour of calypso or through playback as part of the routine. Now, that is something that has to be discussed. And of course, the thing about it though is that the Booyah bands have a certain crowd that have a certain expectation and like a certain type of music. So you won't be forcing anything on them. They should be able to choose what calypsos they want to play. But if we can encourage them, for instance, if next year they with that Triple K play 15 minutes, for the whole carnival, that would be a big step forward, and maybe the year next it can be a half an hour, and next thing you know, a couple of years down the road they'll play an hour straight, probably in 15-minute segments. So that is something we can probably try to do to see if the bands that already have the big crowds would be willing to incorporate calypso as part of the repertoire as playback, because I sure they're not going to say they want to learn thing and get any figures. I don't know if you know, but during the end of the Calypso show, of course, you probably realize that when what's his name, the Triple K,
Mhm.
my partner there, Benji,
Benji? Benji?
yeah, decided he was going to sing a calypso as mighty, whatever. And I found that quite interesting, So just using that opening and say, okay, Benji, you're probably not singing too good, but play that song there, I think that would go down good. And it would help the whole process of developing the calypso and marrying Bouillon and Carnival in a more organic way.
Yeah, what do gentlemen think? Peter IP.
Well, I think too, Calypsonians have the responsibility to a certain extent also to come up with songs that suit the road, that people would want to hear. I mean, I have nothing against politics in Calypso, but then sometimes we maybe have to do it in a way that is jumpy, make it roadworthy. Like I understood that Triple K was playing Daddy Chess. I didn't hear it, but I understood they played it a couple times.
They
I'm
actually
not
played the
sure.
song themselves, or they played the recording?
Well, I heard Benji singing. I heard
Oh,
Benji
okay.
singing it.
All
I'm not
right.
sure how he handled what he is singing, or if it's a chorus alone, whatever it was.
Mhm.
But I think too the Carib students have the onus is on them to a certain extent to start coming up with more roadworthy calypsos, you know. I mean, and roadworthy is not exactly just being tempo. Melody has a lot to do with it, sing-alongs, you
And
know.
lyrics as well, yeah, lyrics
And
as well. I
lyrics, yeah,
mean,
yeah,
yeah, that people who want to
yeah,
sing
yeah.
along,
Just sing
too.
along. I mean,
Yeah. Hmm.
there's nothing better than a sing-along, you know. It doesn't have to be very quick. I mean, look at Martini Cemetery.
Right.
There's
Mhm.
no real tempo in that song, but then when it's played, you always get a response.
Okay. But
Yeah.
Peter, you were not born yet, but to me, and I suppose IP and Baba might be in a position to comment on that. To me, the greatest sing-along road march that I
Uh,
have ever experienced in my life is Tennis Shootong by Tokyo.
Oh.
Right?
yeah.
To me.
Okay. So you say that. You say
Yeah,
that.
right.
So today, my era, I have no idea what the verse of that song was.
Mm.
No, no,
What do
no,
you
that
mean?
wasn't important. That the verse was
Exactly.
that was not
No,
important.
no,
Yeah, yeah.
no. When Swinging Stars plays, once the brass starts, people start moving. And that is maybe the best definition of melody. When you have a song and the brass plays it and there's no words to it and it's so sweet, people can move to it. And that, you know, when that happens, melody is flawless, melody is great. I
Right.
mean, the lyric Tenny Shutong, um, Dife Mama Dife,
You're
there's
right.
nothing
Mona Oi, yeah.
there's nothing really
Right.
lyrically to these songs, but they lasting over 30 years. Why? It's all about just melody. So the other day we were in somebody had me in a discussion asking me if we do think we should drop um the Cripes Association should drop the amount of points given for melody and raise the lyrics.
Hmm.
I said, what guarantees a hit in a calypso is the melody, not the lyrics. Somebody might disagree with me,
No, I don't disagree with you.
but
I
that's the
support you
reality. The
100%.
reality.
That's my view as well. Yes.
I mean, a great melody, there's nothing better than that.
I've
Yeah.
always said that is what attracts you first to a song, the melody. When you hear the
Melody.
melody, I mean, you don't listen to a song and say, boy, those lyrics great, that is why you start to listen. The melody hooks you.
Melody hooks
You
you.
start to listen, and then in the process, you say, well, but those lyrics good too, man. You know what I mean? That kind of
Yeah.
thing. Yeah,
So I
yes.
think so. So Peter, what you're saying is for the booyah bands to play on calypso, the calypso have to be in keeping with the audience, right?
Yes,
So
yes,
basically,
yes.
it have to fit, and so
It
the
has to be a song that
calypsonians
people want to hear. If people
exactly
want to hear the boy bands we play it, they'll
right.
find a
So
way to
that
play it.
so if we are to get the Calypsonian, the booyah bands on board, the Calypsonians themselves have to come on board and present the kind of material that would be acceptable to that demographic. I
Yes,
think that's
yes.
what they're saying.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, the way calypso is now, if you make a calypso and when it plays on on the radio, somebody doesn't say, "Boy, that's what I'm talking about," or something. It calypso has to have something in it to strike a nerve. You know what I'm saying? Make you want to listen, and people have to understand that. You know.
Like voodoo in the port.
Yeah, yes, you could use that. Well, you use that. Yeah, let me tell you, I mean, I must have written voodoo in 20 minutes, 25 minutes, because I wasn't supposed to be in the competition. I was playing music. And then the idea came up when I was at work. I wrote it and I let the guys at work here. And he said a nice song. So I asked the participants if I could take that. So we went to a Stardom tent, and Stardom tent introduced us as the competitors for the Pod Calypso. and around 3 or 4 songs. And when I came to sing, I watched the reaction to the crowd with me singing that song with no practice or anything. And when I left, I'm like, what the hell happened there, boy? I couldn't understand what happened with the reaction.
Right.
So people, the crowd figured it was a hit from the
You sure
very first time.
you had your name already, Mighty Pigtail?
Maybe not.
Okay, I was gonna tell you, sure it's not Mighty Pigtail that they make them like the song, so
I
like you
mean,
saw the Calypsonian. Just
well,
kidding, man. Yeah.
Calypso is a very, very funny art form.
Right, right.
And I guess the fact that I was the one singing it maybe helped me as a custom officer.
All right. Yeah, yeah.
Maybe it
Yeah,
might not
yeah,
have
yeah.
worked for somebody else.
Perhaps not. You're probably right. You're
It's
probably
funny.
right.
Calypso is a very, very, very funny art form.
Yeah.
And they might tolerate certain topics from certain people. Like the other day, I was analyzing, Daddy Chess last year. And when he came to me with the song, I want more pay. We want more pay. We need more pay. I found it was a good song. He came out of it, but the impact wasn't what I expected and what he expected. And after this, when we analyze, we said, boy, maybe when people look at Daddy Chess, he's not the person to be asking for more
People
pay.
more pay. True, true, true,
So
true.
maybe it just wasn't accepted from
Right.
him. You know what
Yeah,
I'm saying?
it wasn't authentic as far as people
Yeah, it
are
should be
concerned.
somebody
Yeah.
else singing that,
Yeah.
not you, Daddy Chess.
Yeah.
You
All
driving along
right.
in a vehicle, you just, what's he talking about more pay?
All right.
You know?
Okay. So gentlemen, we there's agreement that the need or an attempt to try to incorporate bouillon music into the not bouillon calypsos, right, into the bouillon renderings or offerings, right, on
Repertoire.
Carnival Monday and Tuesday,
Yeah,
is some
repertoire.
repertoire is something that needs to be pursued, right? Is there consensus on this?
Definitely.
Mhm.
Yes, yes.
Mhm. Okay. What I find, well, Peter, I think this is an interesting point at which to end today's discussion because we're going to continue in the next session to look more specifically in more detail at Calypso and what is happening with Calypso nowadays and how do we use the information that we have? How do we use our diagnosis, right, to what do you say, Dr. IP, to suggest a
Analyze.
prognosis or to come up
Yeah.
with a prognosis, you
Yes,
know?
or to start to treat, have a prognosis and start to treat. You see,
Right.
come up
So
with some recommendation.
right. So that is what we're going to do the next time around. But at this point, I think is just a very good point at which to end this discussion.
But
And
Tim,
yes,
I just want to tell Peter that I have a specific suggestion for judges for Calypso.
okay.
And one important thing that has to happen now.
But you sure
The,
you sure this is not more
For next.
effective or more appropriate as part of the next discussion?
yes, yes, as I tell him, yes, I have that
Oh,
for the next time. But
okay, all right.
what I just want to say is that the Calypso Association cannot leave Calypso on Ash Wednesday and wait for next year. There needs to be active programs during the year to work on specific things. So, for instance, that idea that came up there about trying to get the Bouillon people to play a little Calypso, that needs to be pursued. Talk to Benji, talk to Signal, talk to them guys and encourage them, and whatever has to be done. I think that is one of the important things that has to be examined. And you mentioned that you don't understand totally if it was economics that impacted the participation at the tents. It would be good to try to do some kind of basic research, because you see in Dominica, we always talk from the top of our head. Yeah, man, I think it's so, man. Oh, man, I feel that. It would be good to get some little thing to say, well, okay, because of that and that, we can say it was this, and so that next year we can build on it. I'm not expecting a big economic analysis, no, but try to some way figure out this very important question. Was economics the part of the 10 thing? And if so, how do we deal with it next year? I think that is the important thing. How do we deal with it next year? Okay.
I was in discussion with somebody. I can't remember who it was, and they told me when Calypso is doing a post-mortem, what they realize that every year the same stakeholders come over and over, but we never invite members of the public to tell us something. So maybe that's what we have to do. When we have in a post-mortem, we should maybe invite the public, well, limited number of the public to come to that meeting to tell us exactly what it is.
Okay. All right. Now, as we end, Dr. IP, let's get a final comment from you for this show.
Well, no, well, I think it's a very positive way to end the show, especially with what Peter just said. Looking at the future, with what Baba and what Peter just said, looking at the future, how for that to happen, we're going to have to be proactive and not just sit there and wait for it to happen. And the postmortems need to really involve even more than the postmortem. Even I could throw out a simple thing. Even the issues of conflict of interest in the association, particularly vis-a-vis Calypsonians are the only people on the executive and all of that. So I think it's a wonderful idea to start with getting non-Calypsonians and people from the general public, stakeholders, people into the postmortem activity, because it's what we do now, I think will determine the type of future we get for Calypso and Carnival.
All right, thank you, gentlemen. But I want to do one last thing before ending, and that is I want to put Peter on the spot, right? I want to thank him first for coming, and then ask him, just as I asked him to start his contribution by grading Carnival, I'd like him to end it by grading Calypso. I know you're going to say, well, somebody else should be grading it, but you were part of it in the association, and you should be able to measure, to assess what you did. So what would be your grade for Calypso on a scale of 1 to 10, Peter?
Not the Calypso show, but the whole Calypso, the Calypso aspect of the Carnival.
The Calypso season, everything.
Calypso
Calypso season.
I can handle that question because I think this Calypso season was actually maybe my 32nd or 33rd final playing. So I have seen many, many years, and I can say I have seen better years for Calypso. I have seen better years. So I might have to grade as 7.
Okay, all right. So he gave Carnival 9 and he gave Calypso 7. So we could say
I have seen better years. So
all right.
And I know we have work. I know we have work to do. We have some challenges. We have work to do. But guys, what I would like to say, as Baba said, and I'm guaranteeing you that you will hear about Calypso shows between Ash Wednesday and Carnival next year.
All right. Okay.
I'm sure we will hear about more than 3-4 Calypso shows between that time.
I just want to say, even if it doesn't work out how you expect, continue. Because basically life is a process. Development works at different stages. It doesn't get the maximum targets all the time. But really just to maintain and keep at it. I'm glad to hear that.
All right, gentlemen, this is a beautiful way to end the program, and I don't want to dilute it anymore, right? But so thank you very much, for coming. I mean, all of you, Peter, Dr. IP, Baba, and we're going to see our viewers next week when we come back with another edition of Mass and Melody. Thank you all.
Tim.
Yes.
Can I take 30 seconds?
Sure.
There's something you did ask me about. So what I'd like to tell people, that Calypso Association had a Calypso show, and there were results from the Calypso show. up to today, the Calypso Association has received no letter, but any discrepancy, I'm just hearing all kind of things happening. So
Right. Okay.
I don't know what is going on.
All right. We'll leave it at that. But we're going to give you
Oh,
an
we do not
opportunity.
know
The
what
DCA.
is going on.
We're going to give you an
I
opportunity, the DCA, to come next week and provide some more
no, I
information
don't
about
think
it.
I can say
By
more
then
than what I
you'll
just
have had
said.
some more information, I think.
You think so?
Yes.
But
Okay. All right. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you very much.